All right, so we spent the last couple of days talking just about like basic trig, using sine, cosine, and tangent, and solving for missing angles and side lengths in a right triangle. So we're still going to be doing that today, but our focus is going to be word problems. And the way that we solve these is going to be absolutely no different than what we've looked at the last couple of days. What is going to be different is the picture drawing. So it is absolutely key that you can draw the correct picture. Okay, so the two types of angles that you are going to be given in your kind of like description of what's going on are the angles of elevation and the angles of depression. And so when you're talking about an angle, like when you think elevation and depression, you think going up or going down, right? But both of these angles are related to what I describe as like the horizontal. So the angle of elevation is always the angle formed from the horizontal looking up. Okay, so you want to picture yourself like standing somewhere. Hey, there's you, right? And so the horizontal would be like you looking out straight at something, but like looking up at like the top of a hill. So if you think about that angle between like if you were to take your eyes and look straight out and then go up from there, that's the angle that we are talking about when you're talking about the angle of elevation. And so then that can create a little right triangle if you just draw that altitude from the object straight down to the ground. Okay. So the angle of depression is kind of along the same lines, except it's the angle formed from the horizontal looking down. Okay, so let's say you're on a hike, right? And you hike to like the top of a mountain. I don't know, be a little dramatic here. So you're at the top of this mountain, right? And you're standing at the top. You're so proud of yourself for getting up there, right? And you're looking straight out at the horizon, but then you see like a mountain lion down below, right? So the angle of depression would be that angle formed when you look straight out and then down at the mountain lion. So it's almost like you have to turn your right triangle upside down to get the correct angle of depression. So what a lot of people want to do is when you hear the word angle of depression, you just want to think of like a right triangle, right? This would be the angle of elevation because it's the angle horizontal looking up. This right here is not the angle of depression, right? This is not the angle formed between the horizontal looking down. So if you're going to be drawing your right triangles like this, you need to make sure that you kind of extend that top part out so that you can get that horizontal, and then looking down right here would be your angle of depression. So again, it's always between the horizontal, either looking up or down. All right, so I kind of started off by giving you an example and providing the picture so we can kind of talk through the picture as we read through this. So it says you are measuring the height of a flagpole. Okay, so here's you right here. You stand 20 feet from the base of the pole. You measure the angle elevation from a point on the ground, so there's our horizontal, to the top of the flagpole to be 65 degrees. And so now we're going to estimate the height of the flagpole. So we're still going to use our trig ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent, to help us figure this out. And we solve the problems exactly like we did the other day. Here's the angle that I was given. The sides that I know are the opposite side and the adjacent side right here. Okay, so then I think, okay, do I use sine? Nope, I don't know the hypotenuse. Do I use cosine? No, I don't know the hypotenuse, so that means it must be tangent. So I'm going to set up my equation. The tangent of 65 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. First step is to always clear the fraction. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 20. And now I can evaluate that height. It's nuts by itself. So 20 times the tangent of 65 is, we're running to the nearest tenth, so about 42.9. Then don't forget your units here. We are in feet. So the height of the flagpole is about 42.9 feet. All right, so now if we look at the second one here, it says the height of an observation tower in a state park is 30 feet. All right, so here's the observation tower. I'm going to label that as 30 feet. A ranger is at the top, so I'm going to draw this ranger in there, and he sees a fire along a line of sight that is at a 12-degree angle of depression, right? So here is my horizontal. So if he's looking straight out, and then, oh no, he sees this fire down here. Okay, so this angle is 12 degrees. And so then I can draw in this triangle. This is a right triangle because here's the observation tower, here's the ground, and then this is my 12-degree angle. All right, so now I'm looking for how far is the fire from the base of the tower. So I get X. That's my distance. All right, so now I have to think about what I know. Well, I know that this angle is 12 degrees. So I don't really know the angles in here. Okay, so we've got a couple options. If you think about what you created, actually, why don't you take a second, pause the video, and see if you can figure out what either of these two angles are in the triangle. Okay, so let's see if you guys kind of came up with one of the correct answers, and it doesn't matter how you want to approach this. If you extend this out like this, what we did is we created a rectangle, right? With two right triangles here and here. So that means that these sides are parallel. And if two sides are parallel and they're cut by a transversal right here, that means that alternate interior angles are congruent. So if the angle of depression is 12 degrees, the angle of elevation from the fire going up to the park ranger is also going to be 12 degrees. So now we can use this information to solve for X. Or you can say, well, this is a right angle. When I draw this kind of other triangle, this would have to be a right angle as well. So if this angle is 12 degrees, 90 minus 12 is 78 degrees. Okay, but the relationship between the angle of elevation and the angle of depression are always going to be this alternate interior angle scenario. So the angle of depression from the horizontal going down is going to be the same as the opposite horizontal going up. It's always going to be the case. So it doesn't matter whether you use the 78 or the 12-degree angle because your ratio is going to be flipped. So you're going to get the same answer either way. So I'm just going to use the 12-degree angle. If we label our sides appropriately, these are the two sides that I'm trying to relate, right? So the 30 would be the opposite side, and the X would be the adjacent side. And so my opposite adjacent, that would be my TOA, tangent. So the tangent of 12 is equal to 30 over X. Okay. Always start by clearing your fraction. So now I have X times the tangent of 12 equals 30. So in order to get the X by itself, I need to divide by the tangent of 12. Okay, so then those cancel out. 30 divided by the tangent of 12 is going to be about 141 point, what does it say? So this one says to the nearest foot. So that's just going to be 141 feet. Okay. All right, so what I would like for you to do now is to pause this video and I want you to read through the next example and try to just draw the picture on your own. All right, let's see how you guys did. So this is a 20-foot ladder is leaning up against a building. Okay, so if here's the building, it's going to be straight. I hope the building's not the slanted one, right? Or on the ground. So there's the building. So the ladder is what's leaning up against it. So here is where I'm going to put my 20 feet. It says the base of the ladder, so here's the bottom of the ladder, is 14 feet from the building. What is the angle of elevation between the ground and the base of the ladder? So this is the angle that I'm looking for. Okay, so again, here's the ground, base of the ladder. So angle of elevation is the angle formed between the horizontal going up. Horizontal going up. So here I'm solving for an angle, not a side. So remember, whenever you're solving for an angle, that's going to be like tangent of x or cosine of x or sine of x. So that's where we incorporate those inverse trig functions to undo that trig function, that trig. So ka, toa. So if this is the angle that I'm looking for, let's label our sides appropriately. Okay, so this side right here, that's my adjacent one. This side is across from the right angle, so that's going to be my hypotenuse. So when I look, okay, I'm not going to use sine because I don't know the opposite side. I'm not going to use tangent because I don't know the opposite side. That leaves cosine. So cosine of theta, or whatever variable you decide, x, z, a, whatever, doesn't matter. Cosine of theta is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. And then to undo that trig function, we're going to take the inverse cosine of each side. So we need to break the cosine and the theta apart. So theta is going to be the inverse cosine of 14 over 20. Remember, you hit the second and then cosine. And so theta is going to be about 45. It didn't tell us which parentheses, so we'll do the 10th, 45.6 degrees. Okay. All right, so now number 4, the picture here is a little bit trickier to draw. So I want you again to just pause the video, read through it, and try to get the picture on your own. All right, so let's see how you guys did. So it says a great white shark swims 22 feet below sea level. If the shark is 67.7 feet from a sailboat, what is the angle of depression of the boat to the shark? And the angle of depression is always the angle formed from the horizontal going down. All right, so here's there's the sea, there's the water. Okay, so down when I go 22 feet below sea level, that's distance straight down. So here is a shark, right? I'll give him some scary teeth so he looks a little scarier. Okay, so there's my shark. Then it says the shark is 67.7 feet from a sailboat. So again, I drew my vertical distance here because that's how you describe below sea level. So that must mean that the distance, which is again, it should be the diagonal because the shortest distance between 2 points is that straight line. So here's my sailboat. This is what is 67.7 feet. So here's the right angle that I created between the sea level and then straight down to the shark. So again, if the angle of depression is the angle from the horizontal going down, that's what angle I'm looking for. Now your picture may look a tiny bit different depending on how you kind of interpreted this. So as long as your ratio and your equation is the same, your picture is appropriate for this scenario. Okay, oops. All right, so here is my angle. I know the opposite side and I know the hypotenuse. Okay, so I go back up here. My first one is sine, opposite hypotenuse. There I go. So the sine of theta is going to be 22 over 67.7. I need to break that apart. I need to solve for theta. So I'm going to need to take the inverse sine of both sides. Simplify that right side. You don't have to necessarily write that step, just like you guys to be able to see it. So inverse sine of 22 over 67.7 is going to be about 18, that 6 will bump that 9 up, so I'll say about 19 degrees is the angle of depression. Okay. So your homework, this is like the last true lesson of, or no, you guys have one on Friday. Sorry, I got my algebra 2 and geometry mixed up. So tomorrow, you guys will have like a review assignment and a quiz. Now, the review assignment is not necessarily going to be for a grade. It's just for some extra practice. So I'll post tonight's homework. I'll post the solutions without the answer or without the work to it, just like I did last night, so that you guys can check. But for the review assignment, I'll post all work there too. So you need to practice what you feel like you need to practice. And then you will have a Canvas quiz. And the Canvas quiz will be part where you will have to just type in the answer, and then part where you will have to take pictures and submit a file upload as your answer, and I'll grade those problems just like I would on any other quiz. I'll give a little bit more detail about that in a short little video tomorrow. But for now, just go on, if you go to your packet, the 8.4 homework's there, or you can access it on Canvas.